The college football playoffs. We are now in round two, and the field has been reduced to 8 teams. So hopefully the matchups are a little better in this one than the last round, and home field advantage and weather will not be a factor in these games because they are being played at neutral sites. So let's go ahead and break them down, starting with Arizona State at Texas or versus Texas because it's not at home stadiums. So I learned my lesson last week about giving benefit of the doubt to teams. So I am going to pick Texas here. I know that Arizona State is on fire right now and that Scadaboo is playing out of his mind, but they also played in the Big 12. Not that Texas has played a really super hard schedule. In fact, quite the opposite, but they are a more proven team to me. Texas, they outman Arizona State. They should, out physical Arizona State, and they should out coach Arizona State. So I really think that I can't overthink the room here. They should outlast Arizona State. And I know that Texas has more, offensive struggles, and I know that they have a problem closing out games in the second half, but they are just all around a better team than the Sun Devils, I believe. They're just better. And I'm not gonna overthink the room here like I did last week. I saw Texas correct some of their previous mistakes. I saw them score consistently on offense. I saw Texas have more success in the red zone, and I saw Texas put the dagger in Clemson. Arizona State may show some early flashes in this game, but I do trust Texas to be physically dominant and wear Arizona State out in the long run. This Texas team just has too much talent to lose this game, but Arizona State is not a pushover by any means. At least I don't believe that they are. So Texas cannot sleepwalk in this one. They have to give it their all, and I'm still going with the Longhorns, though. Give me the Longhorns to win this game and advance to the semifinal game. Next up, we have Oregon versus Ohio State, and this is a rematch of one of the most exciting games of the year, maybe the best game of the year. The question is, can Ohio State replicate their performance against Tennessee? If so, they're going to win this game and every other game that they have on their schedule. I would be shocked if the score resembles that game at all, but if Ohio State can maintain consistency and quality of performance, the Ducks are in trouble. It's hard to beat the same team twice, especially a team as talented as this Ohio State team. I know a lot of people think Oregon is the number one team in the country right now, and I definitely understand why. They are undefeated with a win over Ohio State already under their belts, but I do have a few concerns. Their defense has been a bit vulnerable from time to time, so this could be another shootout, but I trust Ohio State to make more stops, even if that's not how the game played out last time. Oregon is a very balanced team, though, and they, got to rest up with the bye week, but I really can't shake what I saw Ohio State do to Tennessee. I think that they are firing on all cylinders right now, and I think that, that will show itself against Oregon. I really hope I'm wrong here. I would love to see Ohio State get smacked by Oregon. Expanding the playoffs, though, has given Ohio State a second chance, and I have a feeling they're not going to waste it. What I mean by that is, and I can get more into this later, but essentially, in a 4-team field, Ohio State doesn't make it. And you think that there's going to be these Cinderella teams that in the 12-team playoffs that are going to make it in and make a big run. This right here is your Cinderella, Ohio State, a team that was flawed all season, but still one of the big, blue bloods. And they find a way into the playoffs, and they put everything together. So there you go. Your Cinderella champion right there, Ohio State, if that ends up coming to fruition. Hope you guys are happy that you expanded the playoffs. But, I'm not going to get into that too far. Either way, I think the winner of this game is going to win the whole thing. Moving on now, though, to Boise State versus Penn State. And I'm still not super high on Penn State, but once again, I'm refusing to make the same mistake as last week. I'm picking Penn State in this game. I know Ashton Jeanty is an absolute maniac, and Boise State almost beat number 1 Oregon. But I have also seen them play some pretty close games with other opponents they had no business being in close games with. And I can't help but feel like Penn State can stuff Ashton Jeanty. Easier said than done, I know. But if they can do that, they're cooked. Boise State cannot win a game if Ashton Jeanty does not have a good night. They can pass the ball okay as long as Ginty is doing his job. Otherwise, they're in a lot of trouble. Penn State has a very salty defense. They will live in the backfield, so you got to be prepared for that. And while Boise State's offensive line has played well, I am skeptical that they will be able to withstand what Penn State is going to throw at them. And because Boise State is such a run-heavy team, it is imperative that they do not put themselves in a hole, because if that happens, it will force them to throw the ball more, and that heavily favors Penn State. I think Penn State's game plan here will be similar to what Notre Dame's was against Indiana. Just lean on Boise State. You are the more physical team. You have more depth. You can outlast this Boise State team, I believe. They have a really good running back room themselves, and I think that their defense will allow them to play complementary football. And I don't really know how Boise State plans to stop number 44, because he is obviously a problem. Lastly, Penn State's defense can cause turnovers, as we saw in the SMU game. And while Boise State is not as prone to giving up those as SMU, I still think it could be a really big issue, especially if Boise State has to throw the ball more than they're comfortable with. So I have to take the Nittany Lions here, but again, I hope I am wrong. And lastly, I have Notre Dame versus Georgia. And I know you guys know who I'm picking here. It's Georgia. Obviously, there are a lot of unknowns in this game that could play a factor, most notably the fact that Georgia is missing their starting quarterback and they're playing with a backup quarterback here. But I'm still very confident in my dogs. In fact, I'm optimistic. I trust Gunnar Stockton. I've seen him play in a few games, and there was a good group of people that wanted him to start over Carson Beck a few years ago when it was between him and Brock Vandagriff and Carson Beck. So I think Gunnar is going to fit in really well with Mike Bobo's offensive scheme, even better than Carson Beck did. And Notre Dame has very little film to go off of here. I think that if he could do what he did at Texas with no preparation as a starter, then he's going to be able to do much better given those starting reps for the past 2 weeks. I trust Kirby Smart will have him more than prepared to play, and I think he's going to ball out and give us an added threat on the ground that I think we definitely need. I'm actually more worried about us not having our punter. I know that sounds odd, but he was probably the best in the country, and he was very effective at flipping the field, giving the opponent unfavorable field position. But hopefully we will not need to punt too much in this game. I think the matchup is very favorable as a whole for Georgia, though. Notre Dame is a very one-dimensional team. They mainly just run the ball, and Georgia's defensive line has been great at stopping the run. Not only that, I just don't see teams that are one-dimensional beating this Georgia program under Kirby Smart. That just doesn't happen. I mean, a one-dimensional team does not usually beat Georgia. Notre Dame's going to have to pass the ball if they want to succeed. I am a little bit worried about our secondary, obviously, but I don't think that Notre Dame has, what it takes to test us and succeed there. The only thing that really has me nervous is the fact that, Riley Leonard is a mobile quarterback. Georgia is, notably terrible at stopping mobile quarterbacks, so that could cause some issues, but I think that will only be so effective for Notre Dame because they are so one-dimensional and that there's not really as much of a threat of Riley Leonard passing. At least there hasn't been up to this point. This, I think, will be very complimentary style of game for Georgia. I'm pretty positive that our defense will perform well. It's just a question of whether our offense will work. Like I said, I think Gunnar Stockton and ETN will be able to carry us to a victory. So give me the dogs to advance to the semifinals against Penn State. All right, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, subscribe if you did, and make sure you follow me on the socials at @A_rock321 on X and Threads. That's all I have for you guys. So, yeah, peace.